Every Sunday morning, the sun shines bright. Grab your favorite mug, let's take flight. With the Coffee Time podcast, we gather around, talking about Colombia, where love is found. Expats share their stories, dreams unfold. In this coffee triangle, adventures bold. Oh, coffee time, bring us together. With laughter and love, we'll face any weather. From the mountains high to the valleys wide, in this coffee hug, we find our pride. From Medellin to Cali, Cartagena shores, exploring this country, we open new doors. Tips and tales shared, we laugh and we learn.
Good morning and welcome back to another Coffee Time live here in Armenia, Colombia. I'm supposed to say welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time live. I have a guest here. It's got me all nervous. Okay, so he'll be coming on in about 20, 25 minutes after I go through the first parts. Right now it's about 73 degrees. It's overcast. We got a high of 76 today and a low of about 64. And let's see, the Colombian peso is, as of this morning, 41.02 to the dollar. Up and down, just keeps bouncing around that area. All right, and let's take a look outside. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. We're getting there. Boom. All right, that's right off my balcony. And let's see the sky. Got any blue out there? We had some this morning. I'm not seeing it. Oh. Nope, no blue today. Let's get back down. There we go. Got it. All right. So I got a bunch of things today. A little bit on the live stream progress. As some of you know, some of you have helped me with it. I've got this challenge from Rumble to put in 30 hours of live streaming by the end of the month. And if I do so, then I get thrown in the bucket to get monetized. So, of course, that's a great idea. I'm 15 hours, so I got 15 more to do. And today counts. Anything I put on the Coffee Time Exotic channel counts. And anything I put on my private channel, saying in Colombia, counts. And that's when I'm running these 2+ hour marathons on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Talking about all kinds of crazy stuff there. This last time I talked about how the KGB chased me through Tokyo. Okay. On Rumble, if you look at the Rumble video right now where I am, right below it would be right about here. There's a red button that says join. If you put in the code INSANE, it's free. So I'm trying to get 4 or 5 people to join up before the end of the month so I can try a couple things to see if it's worthwhile to keep that going. So if there's 4 or 5 people that don't have anything better to do, feel free. If you put in INSANE, you won't get charged anything, and it would be very helpful. And what else do I have on here? And the last thing is related to the channel here on Rumble. If you care to leave any kind of comment or question on this address, you can do a video up to 1 minute. You can do a video, use your phone and leave it, and then I can post it up on next week's show. Nobody's done it yet. I would love it if somebody would, help me out, try it, and we'll see how it works. These are some pretty cool features. I can see some real possibilities, but I have to try them first, make sure they work out right. All right, let's see. Where are we? Sharika's back, and that was their Chapelera, her Colombian coffee outfit, her latest one. But I have something to talk about on her business. Some of you are curious. Let me show you a little video that she made a little while back. I don't think I ever showed it.
Descubre la esencia de Colombia, experimentando el café reinventado. Bienvenidos al corazón de Colombia, donde se cultiva el café más exótico del mundo. Aquí, en Charis Coffee, trabajamos con los mejores agricultores en los suelos fértiles del Cauca, o tenemos solo los mejores granos seleccionados a mano, en su punto máximo, lo que garantiza una experiencia y un sabor incomparable. He contado con el acompañamiento técnico de mis tutores de mi Universidad UNA, lo que me ha permitido sobresalir. Aquí verificamos la pureza e integridad de cada lote de café, cumpliendo con los más altos estándares de certificación colombianos. Charis Coffee tiene historia y sentido de pertenencia para nuestras futuras generaciones. Experimenta el mejor café del mundo y más exótico, siguiéndonos en nuestra página web.
Yep, she's getting pretty good at her videos. Yep, she's making her own. All right. So this last week, she was part of this huge family reunion, people from all over Colombia, and they met in Pereira. And so she spent a week there traveling around. She got to actually guide them because she had been and nobody else. She took them to Salento and Finlandia and Buena Vista, places that, that I've shown her. And she had some pretty good news just a couple days ago. How she's selling coffee because originally we were partners, and then because she couldn't get out of Cauca at the time, I decided to just continue here, but under my own. I convinced her to take what she had learned to that point and set it up there also. And so she did that. And her coffee is focused on primarily here in Colombia, where mine is entirely export to the United States. Well, she just got some good news. You may remember a few weeks back, I was talking about in Cartagena. She has an aunt who has a warehouse in Cartagena, and she offered to let her store coffee there. So she did. She sent a bunch of coffee there, and her aunt is connected with a bunch of restaurants. It sold out like that. All her coffee in that warehouse sold out. So she was very excited about it. She went on a shopping spree and bought herself a bunch of pairs of shoes. What is it with Latinas and shoes? And a cowboy hat, something like mine, only I think fancier. And a bunch of jeans, a whole bunch of things. She left here with a backpack. She came back with 2 big suitcases. So, and good for her. She also got two new businesses. Yesterday, the night before, I was here when she was here when she took the call, and I don't know the one, but the other one is a restaurant in Manizales, and they're going to sell her coffee, but also have it for sale on the, at the cashier's desk kind of thing. So she's kicking some butt, and that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about some bad service. Now, Colombia is not known for service. And I get that. There's a certain level of it. It's like, yeah, well, in the U.S., where it used to be service, from what I understand, I haven't been there in over 10 years, but people are telling me that service is almost gone. And I will get to the live chat here in just a minute. But I had an experience last night that I feel compelled to talk about. Chad, good morning. How are you doing? Grand Columbia. It's not on here yet because I wasn't live, but Yuka on the website, he said good morning earlier this morning. The buck stops here. Hi from Ecuador. How you doing? I got a message because of some things I talked about Ecuador this last Friday on the marathon stream. And I got a message saying, you're always hating on Ecuador. I said, no, I'm not hating on Ecuador. Everything I said was exactly the truth. And I'm going to, I guess, hate on Colombia today because I'm going to talk about service a little bit. But hi from Ecuador, Ben Lake, Mr. Ben Lake. Good morning. How you doing, neighbor? Yeah, I have to remember I have this feature again. Sebastian, good morning. When you get in the apartment next door, that new building, he was talking about getting one. Morning, Armenia. Okay, gotcha. Edward Lee, YouTube still working. Yeah, not for much longer. They're really starting to aggravate me. I got 2 emails from them. I just put them up. You know, some people don't believe me, as if I would make this up. But I got 2 emails telling me I've got to pull down videos that have been up for over 2 years because there's copyright strikes on. There is no copyright strike. So lately, I've been a little sloppy with it because it doesn't matter. They're going to copyright strike pretty much every video anyway. But there's levels of it, and some actually can get you in trouble. Some can cost you money. Some can cause your video to come down. And some, they just will take any money that you would have made and they keep it. Well, I can't make any money on YouTube anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I've been kind of sloppy with it recently. But these were from a couple years ago, and I was always very good about never once violated the YouTube rule. They have no strikes against me for that. Don't get me going on YouTube. Spanglish Angler, good morning from Tampa Bay. Good day from Tampa Bay. 4 more days before arriving in Cordoba. Mr. Gill, good morning from Northern California. About the service comment, restaurant is excluded. Services at any restaurant is always excellent. Well, let me tell you about that. So we had a special occasion yesterday, and so I drove up to a restaurant just out of town here, big restaurant. I'm not sure how the libel laws here are, so I won't mention the name. Kind of named after the founder of Grand Columbia. First name. Anyway, is that legal? I don't know. So, a special occasion. I've been to this place, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. Beautiful place, and has a scenic view of all of Armenia. It's a very nice place. It's changed hands since I first went there, but I went maybe 7 or 8 months ago with the people that currently own it, and it was great. Great service. The food was fantastic. Well, they've kind of gotten full of themselves, and you can tell when you go in because I saw this with a restaurant I did a video on maybe 4 years ago called Salamander. That was all flash and no substance. They made the plates look very fancy, but the food sucked. It was all for appearance, but the service and the food quality just wasn't there. Well, we've got another copy of that. So let me just tell you a few of the things. Now, I won't go into such detail of why these things were so aggravating, but these weren't just minor things. They had 14 people on duty for service. I don't mean in the kitchen. I don't mean as cashier. I mean people roaming around, talking to each other, 14 people. It wasn't, about a third of the restaurant had people, so it's not like it was packed. They did have a wedding that was coming in, and as we were leaving, the wedding was arriving, but it wasn't like this massive wedding party. And as a matter of fact, most of the people that were there when I was there were leaving, and the wedding party was just about the same amount of people. These people weren't standing around preparing for that. They just weren't. They were just worthless. So what made them worse? Okay, for example, he sat us down at the table. This table had insane wobbles. All right, well, that happens, don't hate anybody for that. But two of them watched that table wobble and just kind of talked to each other about it and then turned their back and walked away. All right, well, that can happen. I've had that happen in other restaurants before. I had that happen in a restaurant in Columbia. And in every case, when they see it and they notice it, they come over and take care of it. Well, here they didn't. All right, so, we'll deal with it. It's not like the end of the world. I'm not that particular. Then they brought out the food, and she ordered langostino. And I could tell instantly this was not fresh. They used frozen here, which is fine. But apparently it had been thawed in the kitchen for a while because langostino doesn't smell fishy. It smelled fishy. I ordered stroganoff. Well, what came wasn't really stroganoff, but it had two big chunks of beef. It was practically inedible. It was shoe leather. It was like the worst cuts in the world. Their menu prices to the appearance, but the food doesn't measure up. I've had, your cheap lunches, your almuerzos with far better quality food than what this was. All right, so there's that. Well, then they're bringing dessert. Leave the dessert. One of them was completely wrong what the order was, even though it was very specific. So they go back and they get it, and 10 minutes later, they bring out the right one. But they left the table all that time with no silverware, and then left for the silverware, and nobody, every time you try to get somebody's attention, they'd turn around. Then I noticed there's a couple over here that he was trying to flag them down, and they would walk by and just turn their head the other direction. They were overtly ignoring people so they wouldn't have to do anything. So the whole thing, it was just really obnoxious. Did it ruin the occasion? No. But it made me not ever want to go back there. And I went there because it had always been so good. When you have that many people on that are that arrogant, so overtly ignoring people, that's pretty obnoxious. What used to be great is just all flash now. I could not recommend it, and it's a shame because the place is half of the experience. It's got probably the best view around. Mike Jarvis, good morning. How are you doing? Anybody ever been to the restaurant that I'm talking about? You have? Great view, huh?
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's half of the deal. They are involved in a promotion that's happening from yesterday to the 30th of March. There's some kind of hamburger spectacular, and there's 8 or 10 restaurants that are involved in it. And they are, I haven't had all of those restaurants, but the ones that I recognize all have exceptionally good hamburgers. That place is in on it. While we were there, they were filming a hamburger or video, taking pictures themselves. There's no professional with a cell phone, but they were staging it up, and it was probably looking good. I had a hamburger there once, and it was amazing. But I don't know. I'm pretty worried about it. If you don't have a lot of business and you're letting your food thaw out, you don't keep it for a couple of days and then cook it and serve it to somebody else. All right, enough complaining about that. Friday we talked a little bit about YouTuber Life with David. I have a lot of respect for the guy. A couple things irk me once in a while, but for the most part, he's a legit, honest guy. He was in Pareda 2 days ago, and then yesterday he came to visit Armenia. I'm assuming he's probably still here. I don't really know. I don't follow him, but I do occasionally watch. I bring this up because there was a number of us Friday. We were discussing his video and how he had gone to Manizales and things like that. So I just throw that out there. Okay. So the announcement. Here's the big announcement. I don't know how big it is. This big. The coffee that I have, I can only sell as an export to the United States. It's very, very expensive. There's different tiers, levels, and this is a very high-end coffee. One of the types that I sell, you can't even find it anywhere else. I've been to a whole bunch of coffee farms. Nobody else has that variety. It's very rare. And there's a lot of fraudulent coffee. I talked about it before, but this coffee it's all certified and lab tested, and it's only being exported to the U.S. because it's so expensive. People here, they would say, well, I'm not going to pay that much for coffee. But in the U.S., they will because it's a unique experience. So that's the whole point. But I've had a lot of people ask me, can I get some coffee from you? Well, I can't. I mean, I could, but I'd lose my butt, or you're going to have to pay. I don't recommend it. If you're in the U.S., it's a whole different story because you don't have access to it. So there is a specialty coffee that I can sell if I set it up here in Colombia. I would not be able to export it, at least until I go through months of process and fees and all the lab tests and all that. But it's from the same farm. I know the coffee. It is a specialty coffee. It's not an exotic, but it's a specialty. And I will probably have that for sale within the next week or two. And it'll be market competitive with coffees here in Colombia. So for those interested, you know who you are. I had lots of questions on that. And so it's very possible. All right. Anything else? Oh, I will also, because this has come up a number of times, and I don't know specifically how many people are interested, but I get asked quite a bit, can we visit that farm? So I've had a preliminary conversation. We're going to have a more detailed conversation about, is it okay if I come by and bring people and show them the farm and that kind of thing? And preliminarily, it's agreed that yes, I'll be able to do that. So I'm working on setting that up. Where can I get in the U.S.? I sell it via internet. I can only ship it to the U.S., which, by the way, the people that have bought coffee, it was all set up for shipping Monday, the 10th. However, the first shipment, I didn't realize this. There's delays in the custom preparations. There's certain once you do it, everything's on record. But the first time, it's a bureaucracy. It's primarily actually the U.S. As soon as those get filed, which are probably tomorrow or Tuesday, I'll be able to send it out, and then it'll be within a week. So I'm sorry for the delay. I wasn't aware. Fortunately, I won't have to deal with it again. What was I after? The website. There's a website. Now we get to the news, and then we bring my guest in. Let's see. I saw David's video of the Tri-City area, and based on that, I think Armenia seems to be the cleanest and more organized city. The only pet peeve I have with him, and it's not with him, I mean, it's natural, and I think we probably all do it to a certain extent, is he will say things off the cuff, but people watching the video take it as though that's how it is. He mentioned that it was hotter here. It was hotter because he was out walking at the time of day when it's hotter. And where he was out walking later in the evening originally, and then early in the morning the next day. So, of course, it was cooler there. And by the time he got here and he's walking in the afternoon when it's hot, it was hotter. It doesn't mean Armenia is hotter. As a matter of fact, Pareda is considerably warmer than Armenia on a day-to-day basis, and it has to do with the topography. So it's things like that. And where he walked, he would get that impression. And you know I don't care for Pareda very much, and he did a pretty good job there. Back in Manizales, he even thumbnailed it. Of course, I don't hate him for that because, you know, he's making money off it. So, you know, God bless him for that. I hope he continues to do well. But in Manizales, he was talking about walking up the street that he felt it was sketchy or whatever. And it wasn't a sketchy street at all, but he doesn't know the city. He's just there, he's visiting, and he's shooting off the cuff. And then you'll have people that hear that and think, ooh, part of the city's real sketchy. So that's the only thing. It's like the off the cuff remarks sometimes carry a lot more weight than he thinks. Kind of like when I do the lives, I'll misspeak, I'll say something just off the top of my head, and I get called out on it. So it's like we all tend to do that. But when I'm watching a video, sometimes that's. But overall, I thought he did a really good job. When he was leaving Pareda, I think this was a video yesterday, I thought he did an excellent job calling out a place that he shouldn't go and walk and the reasons why and how he handled it and how he watches behind him and all of those things. That was great advice. It was spot on, and everybody should pay attention to that kind of stuff. So, I think he did a really good service there. As far as Armenia being the cleanest and more organized, it is the way it came across because of where he went, and there's some truth to it. But Armenia is larger than that, and we have our areas too. And he just wasn't through. He was almost entirely in the north. His hotel was in Central, but all his walking, that was mostly in the north. And the north is pretty special. It's why I live here. It's much more modern. You go to the south and it's just very traditional, and it's what you'll see everywhere. It's your 2-story houses that are all connected to each other and the little tiendas and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're seeing Armenia North, you're going to get the impression that Armenia is that way, but all of Armenia isn't. It's all right. So let's get on with the news. See how I just kind of drone on. What's our first one? All right, this one, I'll let you decide if it's important or not. I didn't go into any depth once I found out it didn't apply to me, but apparently this is something important. So if you're a retiree and you have obligated withdrawals from 401ks, IRAs, things like that. April 1st is some kind of important deadline. Let me see if I can. Let me see. Here we go. I can pull up the web page. Whoop. Get back here. All right, here's the web page. So if you're curious, you go to the IRS site and you can type in the search any part of this title, like April 1st, 401k, for example, something like that. That's how I found it. And it comes up to it and explains why it's important. So if you're doing annual withdrawals from those kind of plans or something, it's very critical, or so they say. All right, let's get rid of that. All right. My next news item is, I can't help it. I have to do it.
Emotional damage. You want some therapy?
It didn't work. It worked in my head. That's a very popular meme out there. And problem is I kept clicking the button and it wasn't going off. So it's all about timing. So here in Colombia, there is it's a proposal, but it's almost unanimously been supported. It's moving on. I can almost safely say this will be law soon. There is going to be a part of the curriculum, emotional education, be taught in all the schools, conflict resolution, how to maintain your temper, how to basically Zen. At first, I kind of scoffed at it, but I read through a lot of the detail and actually looks like a program that would be useful here in Colombia. There's a lot of hotheads, and I think this would be something useful to show a different way. So I think it's good news. This one, I don't think I've talked about before. I think this was just the last few days. This is almost law. This also has huge support. First step toward pet death leave. Bill advances in Congress. So as you know, they have laws here that your pet, your dog or cat, well, dogs are family members. Cats also have a high status. I'm not sure. I remember it being dogs that were family members. They actually consider a dog to be a family member, not property. Well, that brings you to the next step. If your pet dies, do you still have to go to work? Well, you get paid leave if your pet dies and you have to take care of it. I love dogs, but I almost think they're fanatical about this stuff. Is that you? So I have no problem with it. I'm just very surprised. All right, checking chat. I have to go back and forth. All right, next one. And the last one. Oh, this one is kind of interesting here. Police purge sparks controversy. Fraudulent use of polygraph to justify dismissals, alleged. This actually has a little history to it. Currently, what's going on is they're using a polygraph to determine who on the police force has any connection with a particular criminal, to make sure that they don't have moles as they work through prosecution. Well, it turned out that this all got stopped. They were somewhere around 70 some odd people so far had supposedly failed or not necessarily failed, but inconclusive results, which would amount to a failure and a dismissal. Well, it seems that they were operating the polygraph in a way that would cause that to happen. And so they were selectively choosing people they wanted to purge, which is not legal. And this goes back to Petro early on, where this was done. It was a strange thing, and there's no proof of it. It was stopped, but he was actively promoting. And if you look around Colombia, you'll see that a good portion of the police officers are female. He was actively pushing. You've got, it's like he's a socialist, and part of that package is, we want to have inclusivity and all of that. And so he's actively promoting to have women get on the force. It's all well and good, kind of expect that. On the other hand, they were using the polygraph and inconclusive results for a whole bunch of women to get them back off the force. And this was a program that he had set up. And so there was no proof to it. The program was stopped, and those people got to retain their jobs. But it was a bit of a scandal. It's like, why would he have all these on publicly for political purposes and then behind the scenes find excuses to boot him right back out the door? So I saw that. So this is twice now in the last 4 years that there's been issues with the polygraph as an excuse to get people out. They were on this one pretty quick. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I'm happy that they catch these things. All right, so I'm going to bring my guest in, so hold tight. Slide on over here. Let me move my microphone. Go ahead and scooch up there. There you go. If that's close. All right. And we're back. So my guest here is Rigo. We don't need your fingerprints or anything. And I wanted him to come on. First of all, he's one of the few friends that I have here in Colombia. I can count him on one hand. And second of all, he's an interesting fellow. And people are always interested on why somebody makes decisions. Now, he's not newly here. When was the first time you came to Colombia?
2000, I believe 2015.
Yeah, so it's you've been in and out quite a bit.
Right. I came, first of all, 20 years ago, a month ago, I married a Colombian lady. And so finally, after a while, she convinced me to come to Colombia. And I did, met the fam, and I found it interesting, found the people to be warm. And I had traveled quite a bit. I've been to 13 countries, been to Russia 4 times, Germany, China, Hong Kong, Thailand. And so I thought, why not? Let's go to Colombia and see what that's about.
So when did you decide to move here? What caused that decision?
After that first time, we got into Medellin, and instantly I got a headache. I couldn't breathe. My eyes were burning. It was horrible. I thought I was in Los Angeles.
It has that effect on me too.
Yeah. But as you know, I did the regular tourist thing in Medellin, and it was, again, like I said, I thought I was in Los Angeles. Same effect. And so went back and then went to Bogota. I was in, Compton in LA. And I just didn't care for it. So I went back home. But then when we came the next time, I was looking at it from a different view, because all of a sudden it's like I've already seen the worst of Colombia. And when I got down to it, the people were, I liked what I saw. And so we bebopped around a little bit and then went back home. And I went on Google to find out more ins and outs about Colombia, and the statistics and everything else seemed okay. So I thought, okay, let's go take a look at something for a little more long term. And through Google, I found the city called Armenia. I looked at the possibilities of the future, the planning, the positives and the negatives. And so over the next couple of months, I started going through Google Streets, traveling throughout the town, and I liked what I saw. So we made plans to come visit Armenia, and I had even looked up property before we came. So we made an appointment to see a house over by the Macao Hotel. We flew in on a Friday afternoon, told the taxi driver where to take us, and then I noticed that, wait a second, he's taking us on the scenic route. And I said, no, we're supposed to turn right over here. And he says, I thought you'd never been to Armenia. I says, I haven't, but I can Google, I've known all the streets from here, and you took a wrong turn. So anyway, he finally took us there. And as we were there, we noticed some activity, and somebody was there to see the house. And I thought, well, what would it hurt to ask? So I went over, and it turned out it was the owner, a doctor. And I told her asked her if it was possible to see it. And she says, yeah, there's somebody else supposed to be here in a few minutes, but if you don't mind waiting. And then tomorrow I'm going to show it again. And I said, well, we're the guys for tomorrow. So if we can see it now, it would be great. So we went in, looked at the house. On the outside, it was nice. On the inside, there was a spiral staircase in the middle of the house, which, ate up the first floor. And then as you're walking upstairs, the handrail stays in your hand. And we're looking at the kitchen, the cabinet door stayed in your hand. And oh no, with 50,000 pesos, you can fix that. Oh, with 100,000 pesos, then why haven't you fixed it? And so called the agent and said, look, we've already seen the place that we came to look at, so let's pass on that. And she goes, wow, I don't have another house to show you. She says, but I have a condo if you want to take a look at it. And I said, well, we flew all the way here, might as well. So she took us over Saturday morning to see this condo in front of Parque Laureles. And so we went there. I walked around downstairs, looked at the structure, the building, and then went upstairs. She opened the door, and I said, okay, I'll buy it. She goes, don't you want to go in and look at it? I said, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm going to tear it apart. And that was the case. So when the gentleman miraculously showed up, the owner, he started telling me about all the virtues of the house. And I said, he says, now this is really nice. And I says, you can take whatever you want out of it. I'm going to gut it. And he looked at me like, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to tear it down. I'm going to gut the inside and rebuild it. So I made an offer, and he goes, that's not what I need, because I'm buying an apartment for my son in Bogota, and so I need this much. As well, I'm offering you this much. And
What does that have to do with anything?
yeah, it's like you don't go to your boss and say, hey, I can't meet my needs, so I need a raise.
Well,
Anyway, so he made a counter offer, and I said, no, that's not what I said. I offered you this much, which is only 200,000 less than what you're asking.
see or no?
No. And so I said, if you don't like this offer, you're going to hate my next one. And he says, well, no, it's going to take you, 2-3 months to get approved for a loan and to do this, that, and that. And I says, you accept my offer, you'll have your money in 45 minutes. And so he kind of looked at me and he says, well, I don't believe it. So we went to Pereira the next day, and there was a Citibank in town. And I went there to withdraw the money. And they says, well, it's going to be 50,000 or 500,000 in fees. They charge you, was it 4 por mil, 4 pesos for every
I don't know.
100,000 that you take out. And I says, no, I'm not going to give you that money. And she says, well, you kind of have to. I said, no, I am a Citibank preferred customer. Call my branch manager in California and ask them. So they got on the phone and says, you're right. You don't pay for cashier's checks, withdrawals, anything. And anyway, he got his money. I got the property. On to the next step.
I just noticed that I had the Rumble chat accidentally turned off.
Oops.
So we weren't seeing it. So I'm going to catch up real quick and we'll get back on this. If you have any questions for Rigo, feel free to type them out. Rob, good morning for Fort Lauderdale. Chad, good morning. Beanick, buen dia. Tommy, when will you be getting coffee outfit? Never. I don't know what happened, but the typical chain restaurant here in Georgia really dropped off for food quality. I hear the U.S. has been getting bad. It makes it not worth going out to eat. You can make food at home way better. I usually do, but like I say, this was an occasion. I noticed that Life with David has a tendency, hello Owen, to add elements of danger to his videos when there really isn't any. He's trying to get across the point, and I get that. And what you're saying, well, yeah, that's true too. But he is living, his income is the videos. And if you really want to make money doing these videos, there's certain things that you need to do. I've never done them, but that was never my priority. There's nothing wrong with it. There's a reason you'll see clickbait on different videos. If you have pretty girls in your videos, that's always going to be good. If you exude a sense of danger, that will always pique people's interest and take a look. So also, the big one that you'll see, what misleads a lot of people, is taking this a flowery approach. Everything's perfect. Everything's wonderful. That's great for views. That's really good for views. So anyway, got those out of the way. I don't know why I've turned them back on. Do you see down here? YouTube, Rumble, Locals. It was only on YouTube. I don't know how I did that. But I've got it on all. But once you do that, I don't know if it'll kick back in or not. See, it seems like it's booted them. It's like cut the connection. Live and learn. I'm still learning all these new features. That feature didn't used to be there. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So you were living here on and off or visiting on and off, but you moved here permanently.
Yes, over the next course of 6 years, I'd come over for a month at a time, maybe mostly 1 month a year, or on a few occasions, a month and a half out of the year, while I was rebuilding the apartment. And it gave me a chance to learn to speak the language. I mean, I took Spanish in high school. Hola, Isabel. ¿Cómo estás? But my big step was I went to the University of Quindío and asked them if I could take Spanish classes like ELS in the States. And they says, usually when you get to college, you know how to speak Spanish. I explained to the lady my situation, and she found it intriguing. So she says, hold on. So let me call somebody. And she called the rector, which like the president of the university. And we started talking, and he said, hey, you want to go grab a cup of coffee? We did. As we were sitting there having a cup of coffee, he's pondering things. He says, you know what? I think I might have a solution for your situation. He says, I'll put all my instructors at your disposal for private tutoring. Whenever you want, just swing by, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day at your choice, whatever instructor you want, whatever time slots you want. And I'm just thinking going, sounds expensive. And finally, I asked him, I said, well, how much is this little package going to run me? And he looked at me and says, how about nothing? Okay, where's the cheese in the mousetrap here? And he goes, no, on the other side, we've got some pretty good teachers. They can teach you all the grammar. They can teach you everything there is to know about English, except we've had many, many students graduate here with their emphasis in translation and in English speaking, yet they go overseas or they go abroad and nobody can understand them. And I said, well, and he says, yeah, our teachers teach them how to pronounce things with an accent or, not correctly. So they go overseas and nobody understands them. So what we would like from you is if you could in turn come and talk to our students and our teachers and just chat with them, teach them the proper way of pronouncing things, and then, help them out with some of the slang. Our students are always asking us about the slang, and it's hard for, we look up in the dictionary, it might not be there. So if you could help us out in that department, I think this would be a win-win. And sure enough, it was. And what was an even bigger win is when I started socializing with the instructors, because that's the way you learn the best. You can sit there in front of a book and do this and that, but when you're forced to interact, not forced, but you're given the opportunity to interact with somebody in their language, it's like when I went to Russia, the first couple of times I went, I'd take a little course. I could say, hey, give me a piva. I need a beer or I need this and that. And I got by. But I also got by even better when I'd see somebody under the age of 30. You talk to them in English and they're just kind of like, oh, wow, I get to practice. And so that, got me through my times in Russia.
I've mentioned this in the past a number of times, that one of the things that you can do to socialize is to go to one of these English schools, because that's a common thing, actually. You go to an English school and they are starved for English native speakers to sit down and just have conversation with their students. And in return, you end up meeting friends, meeting new people, creating a network, but you also end up getting free Spanish lessons.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to go in and approach them like you went in with that as the lead, but you can just go in and say, hey, I'm an English speaker. Do you have any need for conversationals? And they'll jump at it.
It's something that I wasn't aware of in Russia and in certain other countries of the world. When you let's say you're going to a restaurant, when you sit down, you don't have a private table. I mean, somebody will come up and say, can I sit here? You'll have 3 different people sitting at a table that don't know each other. And then you say something in English and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, and they speak their broken language and you speak your broken foreign language. And the next thing you know, it's like, hey, you want me to take you to a museum? Sure. And then when you go with somebody that's a foreigner, you get it like, I say Russia because I've been there several times, 4 times. If I were to go to a museum, it might cost me, say, 1,000 rubles. If you get a Russian person to buy the ticket, you'll get it for 20 rubles. And so it's like you go throughout town, get to go all the neat places, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, same thing works here. And I highly recommend that. I've recommended that in the past. And you can also, if you're involved in any kind of church, you can get hooked up with, there's all kinds of denominations here. And of course, you're going to meet people that way. If you're inclined to be part of a church, I'm not against it, but if you're inclined to be part of a church, you will overnight have dozens and dozens of people that are willing to socialize with you. And and it's a worldwide thing with this desire to speak, because English is the language of commerce throughout the world. It's the language of aviation. Every pilot in the world requires to have aviation because their traffic control towers are all in English. Um, when I was in Japan, if I used English at all, I instantly had a bunch of friends because they would just kind of flock and want to talk. And there they had kind of a in awe of somebody from the U.S. and had a ton of questions. And I made the most friends is I would if I spoke Japanese, where obviously I wasn't, and the fact that back in that time anyway, nobody ever took the time to learn Japanese. And so I would speak Japanese and they were just blown away by it. And I would go to a bar alone and I would end up, everybody in the bar would be my friend. It would like, cheers. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So,
same thing with Thailand or Hong Kong. If you speak English, it's like you just open a magic door.
all right, let's see. It's still not coming up, but this is a Rumble chat. I notice the English they teach in Colombia can be understood among them only. Yeah, it's half of the language is pronunciation. They'll use the same word as an English word, but it's pronounced to the point where you don't even recognize it.
My wife, like I said, she's Colombian, and to this date, 20 years later, she's sometimes I hear, let me read it, because when she speaks it, the pronunciation, and so as she's conversing, maybe I shouldn't do it in front, but I go back and read that's pronounced this way. He says, but it says, I before you accept that. Well, but that's
Except, yeah. Well, that's a problem with Spanish is the same way. You mentioned slang. In English, every day there's new words that pop up. Pop culture. It's the same way in Spanish. And Colombia is famous for their slang. Like Ecuador is more conservative, and they'll have some, but it's more basic traditional Spanish. Colombian loves their double entendre nuances. They love to take a word that has a proper meaning and turn it into something naughty. It makes it difficult to learn. That's why Japanese was so easy. It's like mathematics. I mean, it's the same Japanese they spoke 300 years ago. There's no exceptions. It's exactly this way. It makes it so easy to learn. With Spanish, from one person to the next, they pronounce things differently. They have a different cadence. They put emphasis in different places on the words. And my brain is just, it short circuits.
I mean, now I'm at the point that I can converse. I mean, I quite often get comments like, wow, where are you from? It's San Diego, California. He says, but where did you learn your Spanish? Well, you should have seen me when I first got here. It's like, I try.
Well, your Spanish is pretty good, and I've had way more time here, and mine still kind of sucks.
Well, I was forced to, because, okay, I worked for, I don't know if I can say DPR Construction in the U.S. They do roughly $17 billion a year. It's a big corporation. I'm used to dealing with architects, engineers, city people. And then to come here, my conversational level in English was fine. I'd say above average. And I'd get here and I tried to talk to some people and I felt like an idiot. And they'd look at me like, what's this fool saying? Or what's he trying to say? And so for me, it was like, wait a second, I'm used to conversing on this level. And, I feel like I'm down here. And so I was determined to learn. And now I feel adequate.
Larry writes, hi, I presently teach in Hamandi, outside Cali at English Institute. Very rewarding, and I can now converse to my new Colombian family. I'm sure that is helpful.
Yep.
The book stops here. Great stories. Okay, thank you.
No, but I noticed in the past you've had people that kind of hate on Colombia or have a lot of negative views on things. And my experience here has been, like I said, I came here blind. Just said, I'm going to move here, and it took me 6 years to finally get to the place where I thought I was, and I kept telling my wife, she says, why are you putting so much money into this place? And I says, if I'm going to a foreign country and I'm going to live there, I want to know that I'm going to be comfortable. And so, maybe I did overdo it. Maybe I didn't. But you got
what else are you going to do, right?
That's what I did. I'm a builder. And so I'm comfortable now. And then when I hear people kind of badmouth, I'm not Colombian, by the way. But when you go, the same thing in the States, if you want to save money, you'll move to Compton or you'll move to some low rent area. That's what you're going to get. If you want to live comfortable, and you're in San Diego, you're going to get what you pay for. If that's too much for you, you move down to San Isidro at the border and, or you move across the border over into TJ and I'm living cheap. That's what you're going to get. You're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to see flies. You're going to see, but if you've got any kind of wits about you, it's like being in the States. You find your neighborhood and then you find a place that you feel comfortable in. Maybe where I'm at, like I said, I saw it Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon I had bought it. But I knew that's the neighborhood I wanted to live in. I walked downstairs across the street, there's a park with all the goodies. If I walk, about 100 yards up the road, I'm at a major shopping center, one of the biggest in town. If I walk 50 yards the other way, I'm at one of the better grocery stores in town. If I want to buy some Grey Poupon, it's imported, but you get it.
Yeah. Well, I don't worry too much about that. I know what you mean, but some people, you could put them in the nicest situation and they still kind of, I let that roll off my back because I don't know their situation. And I'm sure there's times when I piss and moan. People now say I do it about Ecuador. Well, not really. Like I said, just tell the truth. Mm-hmm. If it's negative, well, that's not my fault. It's there.
Mm-hmm. But like in the States, you pick where you live. And most of that is determined by your income. How much of your income do you want to...
Or in Colombia, by your family.
No, I had family in Medellin and family in Bogota. And I picked Armenia.
But that's you. But a lot of people, they kind of go where they're told.
Right. No, I picked where I said, somebody's going to be dropping by. Hey, we happen to be in the neighborhood. No, you happen to fly into the neighborhood to see me.
So I know ahead of time. Went to Peru recently and the Spanish was all wackadoodle. Yeah, Peru, that's a whole nother story. But they're all different. They all have their ways.
Even within the country.
Mm-hmm. My 15 years in Colombia, my Spanish is above elementary because all my family wants to only speak English. Cliff, how you doing? He's an awesome dude. And he's living in Cali because of family.
I didn't like it.
He was here. He's a great dude. But I had that when I was in Ecuador. Everybody that I met wanted my English because in Ecuador, if you're bilingual, you can earn double the money in almost any job. And so they wanted to learn. They were hungry for it. And so I lived 3 years in Ecuador and could barely, I knew a lot of Spanish words, but could barely talk. And that was why. So I feel that one.
If you look at the want ads for jobs, bilingual seems to be almost a prerequisite.
There's always a job if you're bilingual here.
Yeah.
There's no rule that you can't not have it nice here.
That's exactly right.
No.
If you want to pay $200 a month for a place, you can imagine what you're going to get. You get what you pay for and sometimes less.
No, I got to talk to you about those double negatives. Let's see. Cliff. It's great because my wife is fluent in English. Yes, she is. And when we are out, she does all the negotiations in Spanish. So I really enjoy the Spanish conversations, and I learn and understand all the Spanish. Nice.
It is fantastic. Yesterday, I went to go get some lights for under my. I've got Herman Miller office modulars in my office, and I went to go get some lights for it. And it's this light store that I've been, like I said, I got all new lights. And also, I was looking because on our building we're automatizando, putting in all fingerprint scanners and cameras and.
Cornea scanners.
Yep, exactly that. Roughly 200 million pesos. But as I was sitting there, I was talking to the sales girl, and I said something, I don't know what, and then the guy started conversing with me in English, and it just boom. He says, "Your accent, you don't have an accent, or your accent was from America." And I said, "Yeah." And he lived in Connecticut for 10 years and in Canada for 10 years. It turned into a half-hour conversation about, what's it like in California and how do you like it here and how'd you pick here? But
yeah, if you're social, this has to be one of the easier places on the planet to actually meet people and make friends. I'm antisocial, and I still have people follow me. I just don't follow up very much.
it's, I first heard about Coffee Time Live. I was one day sitting in home watching TV, surfing the internet, and then I saw your podcast. And all of a sudden, my ear just like bing, because I knew I was moving to Armenia. And we started, writing, emailing. And then I asked you, I says, I'm coming into Armenia. It was in May of last year.
Last year, yeah.
And I says, where do you have these coffee meets and da-da-da? You told me. I went there. I missed one meet 2 weeks ago.
I've missed about 3-4 months of them.
Hey, let me tell you, you did a fantastic job in putting that together. You have brought a lot of people together, and that's I commend you for that. Because I have learned so much, even after having been here many times. I have learned so much from just watching your show that it's like I would have been hobbled.
I met Cliff at one of the coffee. I think the original place that we started it. I met Cliff and his wife. Great guy. I miss him. There's certain people that you just really have a good feeling for,
Mm-hmm.
and he's one of the good ones. My wife has 2 businesses now in Cali. Now, she did the blue jeans. She has a second something else now? What else is going on? Let's see. There's nothing over here. I don't know why. I really apologize to Rumble, the main platform. I have to find out what I did. It's on me because I found the setting wrong, and I don't know how to get it back. I'm sure there's a way to get it back. I don't know.
Magic voodoo.
Click on that. What happens? I don't know. Did I break something? No, it's still on 0.
But there is. It's just like back in the States. You find the level you want to live at. Obviously, it's going to be cheaper here, but that's what you should shoot for. I mean, if you want a 300 square foot apartment, that's fine. You got to find those all day long. Find the neighborhood you want to live in, and definitely check it out. I mean, I know that sounds bad for me since I only went to the place one time and bought it, but
well, some people can do that. I'm kind of like that. You're like that. Most people aren't, and it really, people should not come here and buy something until they're really comfortable with where it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have now you're in a developed area where you didn't have to worry about this happening. But on Centenario, one of my favorite areas,
Mm-hmm.
the problem there is you can go buy a condo and it's got this great view of the mountain, and then next year they put a skyscraper up in front of you.
Well, that's what I liked about mine. I looked outside. There's a beautiful park. I know nothing's ever going to be there. And then they got like 15 acres of green behind it. And it's just like fantastic.
And it's not like they're going to put up a dog pound or something, although they might open a nightclub.
Oh, don't go there.
Slowly I turn, step by step.
Gentrification.
Yeah, you were cracking me up. We'll tell that in just a minute, Cliff. But I really wanted to move back to Armenia, and Kali's not my favorite. Yeah, well, maybe I rubbed off the wrong way on you. It's like I really dislike. But there is an area in Kali that if I kind of had to live there, I would live and kind of enjoy it. There's one particular area, I never remember the name of it, but there's something about it that really clicks home for me.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's a neighborhood that's entirely with hardwood trees throughout all the streets. It reminds me of like something in the Northeast. And so there's shade everywhere. And because of it, Kali is kind of hot. But
They're hot and humid. You think you're in Miami.
But in this particular barrio, because of all the trees, it's bearable. It's still too much, but it's way better than most of the city. And it's south of the terminal and it's along the river. And I don't remember the name of that barrio, but I like that area. But I would never move.
Cali reminds me a lot of Pereira. And Pereira, you can go to Arboleda, have a fantastic, like any shopping center in the United States,
yeah, but we have those here.
Not in Armenia, but something you can't have there that you have here is the weather.
Yeah.
And in Pereira, it's so humid. It can get so humid, so hot and humid that
it's so
stifling.
It is. It makes you not want to do anything or go anywhere.
So you can have the nicest place there over in Arboleda area, and you step outside and you're in a sauna.
What I liked about Manizales, what I like here, is you want to get out and do things.
Mm-hmm.
The temperature isn't beating you down. You can go out and walk for a couple hours and you're comfortable. Manizales is the same way. Although early to mid afternoon, you don't want to. That's when the sun's kind of fierce. But up until maybe 1 o'clock, and then maybe after 3 o'clock, you got all the rest of the time where it's really, it's nice out.
Another thing for those people that are looking to come and buy, if they've already determined they want to come here, research your building. They put a new building about 3 years back on the corner of the kitty corner from the park. And I believe it's about 13 stories. From the outside, it looks great. The construction, I watched that thing go up and it's just horrid. They use, what's it called? Hardy board, 4x8 sheets of hardy board on the outside. And it just screwed to these aluminum studs on the outside. So when it gets hot, it literally, because there's no insulation, literally bakes right through. If it's cold, you might as well be sitting out in the balcony because it's going to be the same temperature out there. And the thing is, in most apartments, they don't have air conditioning. They don't have heaters. Although you don't really need a heater here, even though I bought 3 space heaters and never took them out of the box. But the quality of the building, that's going to determine your investment. And that's something just like in the States, you need to see what kind of neighborhood you're going to live in. You don't want to buy a nice place and then have to drive through Sanford and Sons neighborhood to get to it. Because, it's not pleasant. You lock your doors and just kind of slip.
I'm from Sanford and Sons. So it's, Cliff, nail salon. That makes sense.
Okay.
That's like the dream of every Colombian woman is to have a nail salon.
There's one on every corner, just like coffee shops.
In Cali, my daughter is an attorney for Dion. I remember that. She got a promotion and moved to Cali for this promotion. Maybe I need to get a hold of her to bail me out of a situation. I think I might have put myself into one. I'm not sure. We live in Chichape area and nice, but I like smaller areas and cooler weather. Probably is like my state of Louisiana.
Chichape is there's a big shopping center there. It used to be a railroad station, if I'm not mistaken. That's the one. That's a very nice place to hang out. A very nice shopping center. But to get to it, we stayed at the Torre de Cali. Went there and I decided to walk to Chipichape, and I decided to take a taxi back. It was like, you and Torre de Cali, it's
See, you should be doing YouTube videos and walking in those neighborhoods and building up your thumbnails. All right. I had a question. Can you see this? Yes, I can see it, but only if I click over to it. I deleted out of here the chat from Rumble, and it didn't start off that way. It started off with Chad, so it was working. And that's, as a matter of fact, the next comment was me. And from that point on, there was no more Rumble. So I did something. I don't know. They keep changing feature. They keep adding features. And they added this one maybe a month or so ago. And I accidentally see, I did it again. What's that say? Private. So I don't know. I'll look into it. So I try not to do it again, because I did get I am seeing everybody that wrote there, but they stopped writing because I wasn't replying. Plus, I can't put them on the screen if I do that. All right. What time is it? Well, we run 15 minutes over, but it was pretty cool. I'll give you a last minute for any comments or questions. And let me see if I can do a little promotion here, banners. Don't forget, if you want to join Locals, the free code is insane. I would really like it if I get 4 or 5 people in there. And because I got a couple things I want to try. I want to know if it's worth me pursuing it. Of course, if nobody ever goes in it, obviously it's not worth pursuing. Definitely like, comment, share on Rumble. YouTube doesn't matter. I don't care. But on Rumble, definitely. I wonder if I get some glitches from YouTube is trying to make it difficult to cross-platform. They want to be the only one.
exclusive.
I wonder. Okay, what else we got? Did that. Audience submission, I'll leave this up for a moment. If you want to video comment or ask a question, it won't be live. This is something you just go to this website with your phone and you turn it on yourself and you say, hey, how about such and such and such? Or I'd like to see this, or you're full of crap, or whatever it is you want to put there. And then just hit send. It'll pop up for me on this studio, and then I can review it and put it on next week. So you can submit a question, and then I can put it on. You'll be on, not live, but you'll be on, and then I can respond to it. It's a pretty cool feature. YouTube never had anything like that. Got anything else? That's not working. I got to quit breaking things. There's my email. But everything is in the comment section below the videos. All right, so let me go back to chat. Oh, turn that off. Anything back here? Rigo has been an interesting guest. Thanks. Yeah, I find him interesting. That's why I asked if he could come on. Well, he kind of stepped in it, actually. I was complaining because I keep asking people, why don't you get different guests? I keep asking, nobody ever wants to. And then he's, well, I will. And then he tells me, I wrote all these emails and I told you I went back, I looked. I don't know who you're emailing them to. No. I looked. All right, we're going to end it here. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for everything that you do. Consider some of those things that I just asked about. And I'll see you Tuesday, Thursday, or next coffee time. Ciao.
Bye.